Meanwhile, Russia has accused Ukraine of carrying out a drone attack on its capital, Moscow, in which several buildings were damaged. Russia's defence ministry said it shot down 5 unmanned aerial vehicles and diverted 3 others electronically. A Ukrainian spokesman said Kyiv was pleased, but denied, quote, direct relation to the drone attacks.
This footage, posted on the Russian Telegram channel MASH, claims to show a drone attack on Moscow. Russian officials said the city's air defence system disabled or shot down all of the drones, but that several buildings were damaged by falling debris, injuring some residents.
The building security team came to our apartments and asked us to go downstairs. That's about it. We didn't hear any drones or explosions. At first I even thought, should we go down or not?
Russia's defence ministry has blamed Ukraine, issuing a statement saying the Kyiv regime launched a terrorist attack with unmanned aerial vehicles on objects in the city of Moscow. 8 aircraft-type UAVs were involved in the attack. All enemy drones were destroyed. An aide to Ukraine's president denied Kyiv was directly involved, but he went on to say that he predicts such attacks on Moscow will increase. Earlier this month, the Kremlin was hit in a drone strike. US officials have since said it was likely orchestrated by Ukraine's military. Oil pipelines and Russian border regions have also been targeted. Life in Moscow has remained relatively normal since the start of the war, but this latest strike comes as Russia's war in Ukraine increasingly creeps back across the border.
And for more, we can bring in our correspondent Jennifer Paika, who's in Riga, Latvia. That's where DW has reported from since we were banned from Russia. Jennifer, what more do we know about these attacks on Moscow?
So far, this has been the biggest drone attack in Russia. Drones hit at least 3 residential buildings in Moscow, causing structural damage, but no serious injuries. And the explosions were also heard in Moscow's suburbs. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that they have shot down 8 drones above the capital, claiming that there have been 8, because Russian media reports that there have been 25 drones involved in the attacks. The head of the Duma Defense Committee described the incident as an act of terrorizing the civilian population. According to him, now the main thing is to prevent panic among civilians and analyze what has happened. He also explained that the attack on Moscow was possible because, and I quote, Russia is a big country and there would always be a loophole where a drone can fly through, bypassing Russia's air defenses.
OK, and this certainly isn't the first time that a drone has exploded over Russian territory, is it?
No, this is definitely not the first time, Anya. Over the last months and weeks, it has happened quite often. Frequently, oil pipelines and oil refineries are targeted. In March, an oil pipeline in Belgorod, in the Belgorod region, was attacked by a drone carrying an improvised explosive device, but no one was injured in that. Earlier in May, an oil refinery in Krasnodar, which is around 200 kilometers away from Crimea, was also attacked, according to Russian media reports. And we should also not forget about the alleged drone attack on the Kremlin on May 3rd. All in all, since the beginning of 2023, there are more than 30 suspected drone attacks reported on in Russian media.
Jennifer, thanks so much. That's DW correspondent Jennifer Paika reporting. Now, for another perspective on this, we're going to bring in Mike Martin, Senior War Studies Fellow at King's College London. Hi there, Mike. Now, we know that Moscow is blaming Ukraine for the drone attacks, but Kyiv's denying any involvement. So tell me, what do you make of these attacks?
The denial is pretty much standard practice on both sides, and it goes right back to when Russia had the little green men in Crimea and said it was nothing to do with them. And Ukraine throughout the war, various different sabotage missions or attacks, and has effectively said, "Oh, we don't know anything about it, but you guys should be more careful about your security." What it does is it creates. There's enough deniability in attacks like this that it creates questions within the Russian system, which means that they're concentrating on that and not concentrating on fighting the battle in Ukraine.
Yeah. Now, we know that disinformation has played a major role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Mike, we're going to come back to you in just a moment because we're going to take a look now at how Russian propaganda messages are being used.
A massive gathering earlier this year in Moscow, cheering on the special military operation in Ukraine. No surprise in a country with state media blasting out messages about brave Russian soldiers and alleged Ukrainian atrocities 24/7. A classic example, still being deployed today, is the Donbass children, a story Ukrainian fact-checkers have disproven.
On our website, we have dozens of stories when Russian propaganda tried to persuade their own population that Ukrainian soldiers kill children because these children are Russian speaking or something like that. In reality, no children, the child was not killed, and child did not exist.
The Russian FSB security service and its allied volunteers also spread messages via trolls and bots that aim at Ukrainians and at Westerners on the political extremes.
We are no longer in a situation where wars are simply fought between soldiers on the battlefield. Through the arsenal of information warfare, cyber attacks, and disinformation campaigns, wars are now also fought in the digital sphere. The Russian war on Ukraine is no exception to this. And these challenges pose an existential threat to our democracies. They erode trust in institutions and in the media by interfering, disrupting, censoring, or even manipulating people's perceptions of the truth.
Germany is one prime target. Leaked documents from the Kremlin show Russia determined to link up the German far left and far right, like the people at this protest in Berlin. Organized by a far left party, but heavily attended by far right elements as well. Russian media strategists reportedly devised slogans, including "NATO makes life expensive" and "Ukraine wants war, Germany wants peace," that were also shared online.
So it's either the more, radical right or radical left you are, the more you will fall for it. But the logic here, I think, is that if you're susceptible to these radical ideas, it's more likely that you'll fall victim for disinformation.
This goes for the U.S. as well. Far-right media personality Tucker Carlson, who was recently fired from his popular evening talk show, frequently spouts pro-Russian narratives and viewpoints that in some cases originated in memes. Or far-right Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who repeats Kremlin talking points that Russia wants peace. Measuring the exact impact is impossible. Support for Ukraine among Republicans in Congress has fallen, many in the party mirroring messaging coming out of Russia. Well over a year into the so-called special military operation, Moscow's information warriors are still going strong.
And we're back with Mike Martin. Mike, what is Russia's strategy here?
Really, this is a culmination of a 10-year approach that the Russians have taken. And they're not saying that we have a better way of organizing the world than the democratic systems. All they're trying to do is say that democracy doesn't work. There's all these voices, it's chaotic, and you don't know what's true and you don't know what's not true. And the aim is to undermine and reduce confidence in democracy, democratic citizens or citizens in democracies, and to make people think, perhaps maybe there is a better way of organizing things. But they're not offering a new way of organizing the world. They're merely trying to undermine the liberal democratic norm that's established in most places.
Mm-hmm. And what about disinformation campaigns on the Ukrainian side?
Yeah, I think that has there been disinformation on the Ukrainian side? There's been lots of deception. There's been lots of attacks that they've denied, and there's been lots of, feints and trying to get the Russians to concentrate on one area rather than the other area. I'm not sure there's been on the Ukrainian side, The Russians really do just fake stuff like that. They say that there are biolabs, NATO biolabs in Ukraine producing biological weapons. Well, this is just nonsense. It's not true. So I think comparing Ukrainian deception operations, which are kind of a classic part of military strategy, and what Russia does, which is basically outright lies. I mean, go back to the little green men in Crimea. Those were directed by the Kremlin, and Russia flatly denied them. I don't think you can compare the two.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. But Mike Martin from King's College London, thanks so much for your time, as ever.
Thank you.